here and in Kenya, and sometimes I ask myself this question: where do I belong? Yeah, because now two cultures. I hold two cultures: the American culture and the Kenyan culture, and I'm like, okay, now I'm juggling. Where do I belong? Which is which? Yes.
I came into this class with very different goals from, I believe, most of the other people. I took this as a requirement for my program, but it's also, I saw it as professional development. So I came in thinking it was all going to be the scientific aspect of it. I didn't really think that I would have any sense of emotion in it. It was work for me. Have you enjoyed it?
I enjoy it. I love it, especially when I came back to the DC area. I loved it. I loved the fact that it's so cosmopolitan. I love the various races and the traditions, and you just walk downtown DC. You can like meet about 10 people from 10 different countries. And well, I knew I would never continue to live in Malaysia as much as I loved Malaysia. I never would want my child to grow up in a country where you have laws on the books where it is discrimination. No, I would never do that. So I think one of the reasons my dad and my parents decided to send me abroad is they felt that they didn't want me to subject me to that in my life, so I would have all these different options. I would say I've got the Western mentality with the Eastern culture, and that's the way I look at it.
It was good. It was fun, But I do remember, like, when I got here, I thought everything was gonna be beautiful, but I had a huge cultural shock. Like when I got settled in, got into Virginia, got a job, started working. A lot of people didn't understand what I was saying, so I had to repeat myself over and over again. So it was interesting, like the different cultures and everything, the way people talk, the way people respond, the way they accept you. So that was interesting. I got over it after a while, because I remember that was another reason I didn't start school in the fall of 2003, because I was still going through the cultural shock, and I felt like I wasn't ready for that type of environment. I wanted to get comfortable in the country that I was in. So what I did was defer the semester, and I started in 2004, because I said I wanted to get used to like just being in the country, and getting used to talking to people. People can understand me, because I didn't really like it when you say a word and people ask you, what did you say? I don't understand you. Like sometimes it gets frustrating because I could understand what they were saying. So I'm like, if I can't understand what you're saying, why don't you understand what I'm saying? But it took time, it's something that takes time. But after a while, it picks up and they understand you, and it gets even better. You feel more relaxed. There's nothing like being comfortable in an environment. If you're not comfortable, it prevents you from progressing in life. So when I got that comfortability, I was able to start on my journey in America.
So how old were you when you came to the United States?
I was 17 years old.
And what made you come?
My dad, I didn't want to come, but he was here. He was like, I need you guys to come for like, so you can go to school, better opportunity education-wise. So I came first, then my sister came later. So I want to open my own daycare someday, daycare center, and hopefully go back to Africa and open an orphanage. And hoping to make a difference in children's lives, because there are so many children who are underprivileged, and I want to teach them what I have learned here, and how to be strong in the world regardless of your circumstances and stuff. Yeah. Back home, you have family. You always have people around you, regardless. Well, if you have a family, you always have people around you. One thing I've noticed here is that this is quite an individualistic country. Everybody is in their own, doing their own thing. You find some who have families and they stick together, but that's one thing I have noticed here.
So Some people are a lot more positive in their experiences in America, which is really good to hear. I'm totally American. I love hearing that people love to be in America. And then there were some people that just didn't have the same experience. They, due to whatever reason, they don't see themselves living in America for that much longer their entire lives. They're just not having as good an experience. And for some reason that really struck me, mostly because I think I am just American. And it was it was a process of kind of finding my own identity as an American. It was hearing these different experiences. And then there was also the concept of examining my own relationships. There was one interview that was especially important to me. It was a second interview with Beatrice from Côte d'Ivoire. And she talked about her family and how she doesn't talk to her mom very frequently, or not really at all. She just doesn't have, her mom doesn't have access to a phone. And she got really emotional. All of us did in the room, got very emotional. I believe we all cried. And I call my mother every single day. And we talk for a very long time, every single day. And I just thought that that's how it was. Like, people just can talk to their family, they can talk to their parents. But since that interview, I haven't taken that for granted. I take every single call with, I can call my mother, because she's just a few hours away. She has a phone right there. I can talk to her whenever. And I was upset that she didn't have the same experience. She couldn't talk to her family.
This was a really different research experience for me than other ethnographic research I've done in the past, because I was working as part of this team, both the classroom, larger team, making decisions as a class about our research, and also working with Jordan. And I got to go into these homes of people who have moved here with Jordan and talk, get to know them with her and watch her interview people too. One of the things I learned this semester is a lot about material culture. So I titled my presentation, Objects and Meaning, Stories and Items that Illustrate Immigrant Experiences in Prince George's County. And before going into this class, when I thought of material culture, I thought of an object like this. This is just an object that I pulled off the National Museum of the American Indians website. It's a Lakota model baby carrier with porcupine quill embroidery. But I thought of this kind of object, and what I mean by this kind of object is something that's sort of exotic. It's really maybe specific to a certain ethnic group, and really eye-catching. It's really aesthetically interesting. But at the same time, if there wasn't a story attached to this object, if I was just walking past this object, I read the description of what it was in a museum, I don't know how meaningful that would be to me to just see that object, see what it is. But what we found when we asked people that question, what objects are meaningful to you? Not as an immigrant, just as a person, what objects are meaningful to you? We got all these different answers. A lot of people talked about photographs that were meaningful to them. They talked about tests, examinations they had taken. They talked about art and places.
First time, that's why I don't want to go back to school because of this math. I was so scared. So I stopped school before when he enrolled me again. I said, no, I cannot do this math. I said, it's been a long time and I cannot do it. I said, you can do it. The best thing to do your math, just practice, 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 practice. So I said, okay, enroll me. So the first exam, I called out from work. I said, I'm not feeling good. I said, but the reason I called out because I had this anxiety to do my exam. So I said, because of the excitement, I didn't eat breakfast. I thought I can do it within maybe 2 hours. I'm diabetic, so soon as I get there, my brain's so blank. I cannot remember what I studied. So now, my first exam, that was my first exam. D, minus D. Minus D. I went to my professor. I said, Professor Herman, I said, you know, when I took that exam, I was not feeling good. I was so sick. I said, well, I can just give you what you have in your paper. I said, I'm worried because, you know, I don't want to quit. I told him. And then he said, so what you gonna do now? That's what he asked me. I said, no, I'm not going to drop it. I said, it's only first exam. That's what I told him. Because it's just, insists it's just only first exam. I'm going to wait until the second exam to drop it, or until the time that I'm supposed to drop it if I'm not doing well. I said, well, it's up to you. It's getting harder and harder. That's what he said. I said, it's okay. I've been through a lot in my life, so I'm not a quitter. That's what I told him. I said, okay. So now he called the other students, so I left. So I go to work. When I come home, I study. Practice. And then the second exam, after work, I said, I can do this. I said, I left work very early. I left like 2 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock. So I went straight to school. So when I get there, I was feel nervous, but I said, no, don't start again. You can do it. I was talking to myself like I'm crazy. So the second exam, this is the second exam. I got 92. So now he came to me, my professor, he came to me that he wrote this one in here. And then I said, you know, I'm really proud of you. I said, I should not have discouraged you before. That's what he said. I said, I said, thank you. I said, because I will continue. I said, I'm not a quitter. I said, so I got 92. So, and then the third exam coming again. So as I said, practice. Then I got to love this math now. I always practice. I even teach my son now to do his math every time he doesn't know the problem. I said he will always come to me. So now the third exam, this is what I got.
One of the things that this class did for me in general is just, I came into it thinking of, even though, you know, thinking of immigrants as a category of people that we were going to learn more about their experiences. But I think what this class did for me and did for, hopefully will do for other people who see the materials presented, is really humanize the people who we talked to. Seeing a diversity of experiences, you know, not all good, not all bad, and just seeing not as a category that we're learning more about, people can write legislation over, people can talk about it on the news, but as each individual human who has these struggles, these relatable things like tests.
I think it kind of like make me a better person to like kind of like have two worlds that I can kind of like be part of. I can be part of Ivory Coast and I can be part of United States. And